Your sleep has been strange this week. Not just restless, strange. Dreams that felt more like downloads than movies. A face returning that you had not thought about in months. A name surfacing at 4 in the morning with no trigger, no context, just the name sitting in your chest like a stone. Maybe you woke with your jaw clenched. Maybe you cried without knowing why. Maybe a conversation from last Tuesday has been replaying with a different emphasis each time, as if someone keeps highlighting a different word. There is a reason for all of this, and as of 3:33 this morning, the reason became visible. The total lunar eclipse at 12 degrees 54 minutes of Virgo just completed. The Earth's shadow consumed the moon entirely. For 72 minutes, the moon turned the color of old copper, of dried blood, of iron left in the rain. And now the shadow has passed. But what the eclipse revealed has not. It is here, in the room with you, right now. Let me walk you through exactly what happened and what it is asking you to see. A lunar eclipse is not a new moon. It is the opposite. The moon is full. She is at peak illumination, peak exposure, peak visibility. And then the Earth steps between the sun and the moon, and the light is cut. Not dimmed, cut. What was fully visible becomes suddenly dark. And in that darkness, something paradoxical happens. The things that were hidden by the light become visible. Think about that. We assume light reveals, and it does, but light also blinds. The brightness of the full moon, the brightness of a functioning system, the brightness of a life that appears to be working can make it impossible to see the cracks. You need the shadow. You need the light to be interrupted, and that is what an eclipse does. It interrupts the brightness long enough for you to see what was always there, running beneath the surface, hidden not by darkness, but by the glare of everything looking fine. Now, this eclipse is in Virgo, and Virgo is the most important detail. Virgo is the sign of systems, precision, service, health, daily routine, and the relentless pursuit of doing things correctly. Virgo is the quality inspector, the editor, the one who catches the error on the spreadsheet that everyone else missed. Virgo is the sign that builds beautiful, functional, polished structures and then maintains them with devotion. Virgo is competence personified. And that is exactly why a Virgo eclipse is so devastating. Because Virgo eclipses do not expose what is obviously broken. They expose what looks perfect but is not. The system that runs smoothly but serves the wrong purpose. The routine that keeps you busy but does not make you alive. The relationship that functions beautifully on paper but has not touched a real emotion in months. The body that performs, but has been sending signals you have been efficiently ignoring. A Virgo eclipse says, stop polishing. Look underneath the polish. What you find there is what matters. Sit with that for a moment. Let me give you a historical lens that will make this concrete. April 26, 1986, Chernobyl, Soviet Ukraine, 1:23 in the morning. Reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded during a safety test. A safety test. The irony is the entire point. The system was being tested to prove it was safe. The operators followed the procedures. The gauges showed normal readings. The design had been reviewed by the best engineers in the Soviet nuclear program. The graphite-tipped control rods were a known design compromise, but they had been accepted. The safety culture was hierarchical but functional. Everything looked right. The structure was polished. The procedures were followed. The reports were filed. And inside, invisibly, a fatal flaw had been growing for years. Not one flaw, a constellation of flaws woven together so tightly that each one depended on the others remaining hidden. A design deficiency in the control rods that created a power surge at the exact moment they were supposed to create a shutdown. A culture of suppressing inconvenient data because the data contradicted the appearance of competence. An institutional commitment to looking right over being safe. When the reactor exploded, it did not explode because someone made an obvious mistake. It exploded because the system was built to look perfect, and the appearance of perfection made the real flaw invisible. For years. Until 1:23 in the morning, when the shadow fell, and 36 hours later, an entire city was evacuated forever. That is Virgo shadow energy at its most extreme. The catastrophe that emerges not from chaos, but from order. Not from negligence, but from the wrong kind of diligence. From polishing the surface while the core overheats. In 1986, when Chernobyl happened, Pluto was in Scorpio, and there was a powerful eclipse axis activating mutable signs. The parallel to today is not the nuclear disaster itself. The parallel is the mechanism. The pattern of something looking right while being fundamentally wrong, and the eclipse being the moment when the disguise fails, when the radiation leaks through the containment, when the truth that was hidden by competence becomes suddenly, undeniably visible. Here's what that actually looks like in your life. It is the health routine that keeps you thin but does not keep you well, that everyone admires while your body is quietly screaming. It is the career that earns respect but has stopped earning your own, that you describe perfectly at dinner parties while something inside you goes silent. It is the friendship where you always show up and they always have a reason they cannot, where the imbalance is obvious to everyone except you, because you have built an entire identity around being the reliable one. It is the marriage that functions and does not feel. It is the budget that balances and does not breathe. It is the version of yourself that you present to the world, the one that handles everything, that never breaks, that has the answer before the question finishes, that smiles when the correct response is screaming. The eclipse is not punishing that version. The eclipse is asking you to look at what it costs. Because every perfect system has a hidden expense. Every polished surface is maintained by something underneath that is exhausted. And tonight, the shadow made the exhaustion visible. Now let me show you the full architecture of this week, because the eclipse did not happen in isolation. It was the culmination of a 5-day sequence, and each day built toward this moment. On Thursday, Mars square Uranus cracked the external surface. Something broke open. A decision, a truth, a relationship pattern. On Friday, Mercury retrograde turned the mirror inward and said, "The crack is not just out there. It is in here, in your narrative, in the story you tell about who you are." On Saturday, the hush arrived. The cosmos gathered itself. The moon began its approach. On Sunday, Venus entered Pisces and the heart opened. The defenses softened. The emotional membrane thinned. And now, Monday, the eclipse. Everything that cracked, everything that was revised, everything that surfaced during the hush, everything that opened when Venus dissolved the walls, the eclipse just illuminated all of it at once. Like a flash of lightning in a dark room. For one moment, you can see everything. The furniture, the dust, the crack in the wall you painted over, the door you forgot existed. That is the moment you are standing in right now. And I want you to understand something important about what comes next. Eclipses do not create chaos. They illuminate what was already broken. The chaos was there before the shadow crossed the moon. The job was already draining you. The relationship was already running on fumes. The body was already sending signals. The belief was already cracking at the edges. The eclipse just turned off the overhead lights long enough for you to see the glow of the fire that has been burning in the basement. And visible is not the same as destroyed. Visible is the prerequisite for healing. You cannot fix what you cannot see. You cannot release what you have not acknowledged. You cannot walk through a door you did not know was there. The eclipse opened the door. What you do with that opening over the next 72 hours is more important than the eclipse itself. But I will talk about the integration window tomorrow. Today, I want you to stay with what was revealed. Do not rush to fix it. Do not rush to explain it. Do not rush to make it acceptable or package it into a narrative that lets you keep the polish intact. Just see it. Let it be visible. Let the truth exist in the room without you having to manage it. You have managed enough. Tonight, let the truth manage itself. Now, this eclipse landed differently for every chart. The axis of Virgo and Pisces is being activated. One side is precision, systems, the visible structure. The other is dreams, intuition, the invisible current. Wherever these signs fall in your chart is where the light went out long enough for the hidden truth to surface. Here's what that looks like for each sign. Aries. The eclipse is in your 6th house. Daily routines, health, work habits, the small systems that hold your life together. Something in your daily structure has been costing you more than it gives you. A job responsibility, a health habit, a pattern of saying yes when you mean not yet. The eclipse just showed you the receipt, your action. Name one thing you have been doing out of duty that your body is rejecting. Name it out loud. That is enough for today. Taurus, your 5th house. Creativity, romance, children, self-expression. Something you created or a relationship you built with joy has quietly shifted into obligation, or a creative voice inside you has been polished into silence. The eclipse reveals not what is missing, but what has been muted. Your action. Open the project, the painting, the idea, the conversation you abandoned. Look at it for 5 minutes. Just look. Gemini, your 4th house. Home, family, roots. A family dynamic you thought was resolved just showed a layer that was not. Or the home you built, the sense of safety you constructed, has a crack you have been decorating over. Do not panic. Cracks let light in. Your action. Sit in the room that makes you most uncomfortable in your own home. Ask what it is trying to tell you. Cancer, your 3rd house. Communication, siblings, daily interactions. A conversation you had or avoided this week contains the eclipse's message for you. Words you said that were polished but not true, or words someone said to you that you filed away instead of feeling. Your action. Finish one sentence that starts with, "What I actually meant was." You do not have to send it to anyone. You have to say it to yourself. Leo, your 2nd house. Money, self-worth, what you value. The eclipse illuminated a gap between what you charge and what you are worth, not just financially, in every exchange, in how much you give versus how much you receive, in how much you tolerate versus what you deserve. Your action. Ask someone you trust one question. What do you see that I do not? Then listen without defending. Virgo. This is your eclipse. The moon was full in your first house, your identity, your body, your presence in the world. Everything I have described tonight, the perfect system with the hidden flaw, the polished surface with the exhausted core. This is about you, not abstractly, personally. The version of yourself that handles everything, that has the answer, that never breaks. The eclipse is not saying that version is a lie. It is saying that version is incomplete. There is another you underneath the competence, and that one is tired and real and worthy of being seen. Your action, the thing you have been perfecting, stop. Stop perfecting it. Look at what is underneath the polish. Whatever is there does not need to be fixed tonight. It needs to be witnessed. Libra, your 12th house, the unconscious, the hidden, the things you do not admit even to yourself. This is the most interior eclipse for you. The revelation may not arrive as an external event. It may arrive as a dream, a feeling, a sudden knowing that has no evidence but is absolutely true. Do not dismiss it because it has no proof. Your action. Write down the first thing that comes to mind when you read the word enough. Do not think, write. Scorpio, your 11th house. Community, friendships, the future you are building toward. A group you belong to just revealed something about its real values versus its stated values. Or a friend showed you a side that was always there but obscured by loyalty. The eclipse does not tell you to leave. It tells you to see clearly. Your action. Name one friendship where you give more than you receive. Not with judgment, with clarity. Clarity is the gift. Sagittarius, your 10th house. Career, reputation, public life. The eclipse illuminated a gap between who you are professionally and who you are when no one is watching. This is not hypocrisy. This is the cost of performance. Something about your career path is being called into question, not by the world, but by the part of you that knows the truth. Your action, if no one were watching and no income depended on it, what would you choose to build? Write one sentence. Hold it. Capricorn, your 9th house. Beliefs, philosophy, the worldview that scaffolds your life. A belief you held firmly has softened, or cracked, or simply become insufficient. This is not a failure of faith. It is an upgrade. The old map served you. The territory has changed. Your action. Identify one thing you believe because you were taught to believe it. Hold it up to what you have actually experienced. Let the experience be louder than the instruction. Aquarius, your 8th house. Shared resources, intimacy, the invisible contracts between you and another person. Something about a financial or emotional arrangement just became visible. The terms you agreed to silently, the debt that was never spoken, the cost of someone else's comfort that you have been quietly absorbing. Your action. Name the contract, not to break it, to see it. Once you see it, you can choose it or release it, but you cannot do either while it is invisible. Pisces, your 7th house, partnerships. The eclipse fell directly across your relationship axis. The person opposite you in life, whether romantic, professional, or otherwise, just became clearer. Not because they changed, because you did. Venus is in your 1st house, softening you. The eclipse is in your 7th, illuminating them. What you see tonight about someone you love or work with is the truth you have been filtering. Your action, look at them. Not at who they were or who you wish they would be, at who they are. Let that be enough. Or let it be the beginning of an honest conversation. Everything this week, Mars cracking through Uranus, Mercury turning inward, the hush before the storm, Venus dissolving the walls, has been leading here, to this eclipse, to this moment of visibility. The shadow has passed. The moon is returning to full light. But the truth the shadow revealed does not go back into hiding. It is here now. It is in the room. And the only question that matters, the question the sky is holding for you right now, is this. Now that you can see it, what will you do with what you know? You do not have to answer tonight. The eclipse opened a window. What enters through it, we will see in the days ahead. Tomorrow, I will walk you through the 72-hour integration window, because what you do in the next 3 days matters more than the eclipse itself. If something in these words reached the part of you that has been hiding behind the polish, stay close. Share this with someone who needed the shadow to finally see. And I will see you in the next one.